What's up, everybody? This is the Gym Therapy Inc. podcast. Please follow along with us as we try to bring mental health awareness to a small western Pennsylvania town. Let's go.
Hello, with you. I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
On the trust tree in the nest, are we not?
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Gym Therapy Inc. It is February 19th. We have a special guest with us today. But first off, we have
Trista
and
Wes.
And today we have Drew Barto, locally known, internationally respected.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Spent 13 years with a video production company in St. Louis.
3 years with a video production company,
Okay.
13 years with a home improvement company in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So, a local company, yeah.
Former Burnside Bandit, batted over 600 for the Teener League team, earning him the Ichiro.
I think it was 700, but 600.
Well,
Make sure that's all clear.
Today we're just going to kind of talk about, we don't really know. You referenced that we're going to be like Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing, but it's also going to be about kind of everything at once.
Works for me.
We all kind of grew up in this area, took a little bit different paths. We actually have a sales background together. I have 20 years in sales. But what do you guys want to do? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about what happened at the gym this week.
Let's cover some of that stuff.
At your gym this week, Trista?
We had the CrossFit Open, the very first workout of the Open. So we have 3 workouts that are released every Thursday for the next 3 weeks. So we had Friday Night Lights. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Some people got their very first pull-ups, which was really cool to see.
Dude, pull-ups are hard.
I attempted a muscle-up, didn't get it, but I tried.
I've never been a part of anything like that. And all the sports that I've ever played, it's just fun. I can't even put words to the phenomenal people that are in that gym. It's amazing.
It's what I'm loving right now is I'm starting to see so many different people from different ethnic backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
People that don't look like me, right? And we grew up in this area in Indiana, PA, small little western PA town where you don't have that experience a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone is, a lot of white people and everyone looks the same and has pretty much the same life experience to a certain degree. So it's so cool to see so many different people and different backgrounds coming in and getting together and talking about what's going on in their lives and in their cultures.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and it's something that I'm super proud of. And I heard we had a lady drop in with her friend yesterday, and she's like, "You belong here. This is the right place for you." And I was like,
Aww,
and
yeah.
everyone was had that moment of being super proud. So
Yeah, of course.
That's good. I think the town of Indiana is starting to do very, very good, a lot better, and as we get a little bit farther away, a little bit east, north, south of Indiana, sometimes that we're just not exposed to people of color, people
Or
of
even
different ethnic
accepting a lot
backgrounds.
of times.
Yeah, and it's very good. Your gym's a very welcoming place. We talked about it last week. Liz, what happened to you this week? Anything exciting?
I did the first CrossFit Open workout on Friday and did a lot of things and never thought I could do.
Yeah. What about? You allowed to talk about your new start?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I got a start date for the new job that I got. I went to a job interview like a week and a half ago or something, and I was just trying to really find out what it was about, and I wasn't expecting to have a job or get a job. But the interview was at Cove Prep at the Torrance State Hospital, and they need BHAs, which stands for Behavioral Health Associate, and their director laid everything out. Like his whole spiel was probably 45 minutes of the structure of the program and all that. Well, long story short, at the end of the interview, the other guy and I in the interview, we were both offered the job. So
you're gonna start at Torrance State Hospital?
Yeah, on the 27th last week I was called and they gave me a start date. So
that's awesome, everybody.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So after the background you've had, that's huge. That's probably something you never thought. 16 months ago, that's where
right,
you'd be.
yeah, and the facility is called Cove Prep, which is 12 to 20-year-old criminal sex offenders. So
That'd be interesting.
yeah, there's some people that aren't completely accepting of it, but they're not doing their job. I am. So
That's awesome. We found out this week too. We're going to work with Purchase Line High School and a couple people up there on Students Against Drunk Driving program. It's actually pretty cool. We're going to try to start, spreading our message a little bit to a place that's very, near and dear to our hearts is Purchase Line High School.
Yeah.
How's that talking about the girls that are pitching this program?
My God.
18 years old, and you think you're talking to 25, 26-year-olds.
Oh, yeah, she had it spelled out so perfectly. And she, what did she say? She was like the state SAD member or something?
Yeah, she's one of the, We'll do a little bio on them before we get started. I actually had a meeting this week with a couple high school guidance counselors and the executive director of the local YMCA. I'm going to take part in the Pennsylvania Youth Services survey where they ask all the kids about mental health questions, alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, and then we get to present an IEP and talk to them a little bit more one-on-one where they can actually answer questions via text message anonymously. So I feel like we're going to get some really good answers on that. I sat in the room with them and I was like, these are all mental health professionals with degrees and they actively do this. And I was like, I don't think I'm qualified for any of this. And they were like, no, you're good. So I was actually kind of out. It was like the first time in a while, I was actually validated in this.
Yeah.
In this
But you think about it too, who is more qualified than people who have experienced mental health issues as teenagers, as adults? You live a lot more than you can just read and learn about.
Correct.
When you live it, you understand the experience firsthand. So.
Yeah. What about you? What'd you do this week, buddy?
Me, just to have a little background. I work for a media company I work from home, but it's a national company that works on educating home improvement companies across the country. We have 90,000 subscribers to our magazine. I host a podcast and create videos, and kind of using all my background in writing and video production early on. So I'm really not qualified for the job. I didn't feel I was, but I applied because I knew the industry, and they decided to go with me because of that industry experience, and instead of a polished journalist.
Yeah.
So I do feel a little bit of like an imposter. Like, should I really be doing this?
Yeah.
But I've gotten good feedback. It's a good position for me. It's got me feeling good about myself and what I do every day. And so I'm happy. And I had a good productive week. It's like I said, it's higher demand than the last position I was in. But it's exciting. I'm excited to be doing it. And some days I feel like I'm good enough. Some days I feel like I'm not. But I think everybody's
right?
That's the best part is like knowing that not only knowing that you're good at your job, but your job making you feel good because you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you become validated where you're like, oh shit? One thing I struggle with is I don't have a degree, and that's something I consistently think of is like if I had this. But life experience, this is the first week where I probably didn't feel like an imposter, because but it took somebody else's validation for me to feel like that. But I introduced Trista as like certified CrossFit specialist, you're a certified peer specialist, you're a nutritionist, all that kind of stuff. And I always joke around like former used car warranty salesman, Yeah. And it was like, I almost had confidence this week. It was great. It was really good.
I don't know. For me specifically, I don't know that I ever feel like
who let us in charge?
Yeah, why am I like who's giving me a byline on a website in a magazine? Why are you doing that? And why are you paying me to do this? I'm not trained. But I think for me though, it doesn't matter. No matter how comfortable or good I get at something, whether it's a speaking engagement, I've done those in the past. You've heard me that. I'm anxious. I'm afraid until I get on that stage and start speaking. So that lead up from the time I say yes, I'll do this, to actually getting there, I'm a wreck, right? And I don't think that'll ever change for me. I don't know. Even though these are topics I've spoken on, dozens of times before, it's always a new audience. I always feel like I might stumble, I might do something poorly, or the feedback might be poor, right? And I worry about what happens if I'm not good, right? And so I think I'll always have that. I don't know that I'll ever feel
it might be good.
Real confidence.
What kind of kickstarts you, because what do you do prior? Like when I have to do something like that, I need like 20 minutes of just like silence, and I never realize that. I guess that's what meditation is, but what I mean, to a degree. But I used to just like lay down on the floor and just like concentrate and like just kind of avoid everything, kind of an escape a little bit. But then as an adult, you find out that's what meditation and prep and that sort of stuff is. And I did it. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, I think this is fun. I mean, it's kind of on topic. I was speaking 2 weeks ago in Vegas. I was getting on a panel with 3 other
big
people,
deal.
so that's good, right? It's
No
good.
big deal.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, panels. It's easier because it's
Conversational.
Yeah, it's like this, right? You don't have to speak for an hour straight.
Right.
It was a half-hour panel. It was simple. But before I was getting on that stage, I had to use the restroom. I had TMI. But I'm standing at a urinal, right? And you know what that's all about, right?
Yeah.
But
There's rules.
I'm at the far end of the restroom.
Oh yeah.
And while I'm doing my thing, the first urinal as you walk in starts flooding and overflowing.
Alright.
And everybody's walking in the restroom and it's like, oh, no way, I can't go. They're walking out. Meanwhile, I'm mid-business. And I'm just getting flooded waters on my dress shoes.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm thinking, it's too late now. I can't stop. I'm already in it.
Yeah.
So I'm walking across this as I walk out. And all I can think of, I'm supposed to go on stage like 15 minutes. All I can think of while I'm on stage, between answering questions, is don't touch my shoes, right? Because I'm a leg crosser. I'll put my one leg over, and
Oh my God.
and I'm thinking to myself, don't touch. So I'm barely listening to what they're saying because all I can think about is do not touch my shoes. I literally walked out of that when that conference was over. I walked to my hotel. I gave my shoes a shower.
Okay.
I had to. I
gross.
felt like the whole time I'm thinking about this. But I guess that kind of helped me be distracted in a way. Like I wasn't thinking about that because I was thinking about something else.
Yeah, nice little icebreaker. Did you tell the people? Did you just like get up on stage?
I couldn't
like,
do
was
it.
just in the bathroom?
I thought that would really break the ice. It probably would have been good. I told people after the fact, like my bosses, and they had a laugh
They had
that
a
night
laugh?
for drinks. Yeah, but I did not feel comfortable enough. This was the first time I was in front of this audience. I just didn't feel comfortable enough. Maybe next
see
time.
that.
Now I feel like I can tell the story
Oh,
though.
let's see
Usually
that.
Yes.
as an icebreaker. You know?
Yeah. You're kind of like, what was that movie with Will Smith? Happy Endings or something like that it was called, or whatever, whenever he lives in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
He had paint all over himself and then went in for the job interview and kind of kicked ass and got it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
What is
Not that was on
called?
topic, but it was kind of like I never feel super comfortable until I'm in the moment. You know?
Yeah.
It's that anxiety, and I just prepare myself by being anxious and nervous. I just kind of get the sweats, and I
Just being comfortable being uncomfortable.
And
That's-
Justin's sweating right now.
I'm sweating so much right now. It's hot in here. You're cold. We got all this going on. This is our first day in our like little pseudo studio we got some soundproofing up, so hopefully the audio quality is a little bit better for you guys. We got everybody speaking into the mics. That's actually really cool too.
it's a bonus.
That's good.
Yeah,
But
it is.
Justin, does anybody ever feel secure when I talked about this off camera before we started? Like, I feel like there's insecurity levels with everybody, and professionally, personally, different levels.
Yeah.
I think. So I don't know how anybody handles that. I think we're all kind of a little bit of a mess.
Somebody kind of gave me a good analogy this week. They were talking about making food. They were making soup, and they forgot to put like oregano in it. But everybody like at the party loved the soup, and someone came up to them and was like, "You know that the people here don't know there's supposed to be oregano in that, right?" So just kind of like relax. And I thought about that a lot this week. It's like because I recently became elected VP of the local Rotary, and I had an event where they raised a bunch of money at the Latrobe Rotary. And I just was like, I don't know the business. You know what I mean? There's like doctors, lawyers, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just sitting here like former used car warranty salesman, just kind of hanging out, you know? And but they didn't know I wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
that's
like
true.
when you say like what you do out loud after a while, it's like, oh shit. No one knows what they're doing, ever. And even if you are a doctor, lawyer, any of that kind of stuff, like you might be an expert in your field, but outside of that,
You're never an expert on
you're not an
anything
expert.
ever, yeah.
The only bit of security that I actually come with is that no matter what happens to me at this point in my life, I'm going to be okay.
No, yeah.
I have lived through literal hell and back. And I still am a very resilient human being. But that is about the only security that I carry with me. You know, like no matter what, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be fine. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. It's going to be shitty maybe for a while,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be all right.
Isn't that a good feeling,
I
though?
completely agree though. Like
Yes.
from birth till today, like if I hadn't been okay, I wouldn't still be okay. Like it got through what I got through and I was ultimately okay, but it took a really long time to be like for real okay.
Yeah, like outside of dying, what else is there? You know, you can be fine.
Yeah. Pretty much.
For now.
I mean, it's honestly the truth.
Yeah.
If you look at, obviously my sleeve is like Buddhism, like you look at their non-attachment if like not being attached to outcomes and control is how you actually become secure. Because you can't control anything in life. Like COVID told us we were in control of literally nothing.
Oh yeah.
And then once the whole world shut down, we were just like, oh my God, I have to sit with my own shit for like 3 months. I have to figure this out. You know, like that was terrifying. And it literally like realizing I have no control over anything that I thought I had control of. And I think that was a big thing where people, for me, that was eye-opening for me that I had to get my shit together. That I was running from myself. I was running in circles from myself. And that was eye-opening, showing me I have no control, and the only real control you have is letting go of trying to control outcomes.
It's like a dog chasing a car. Once you have control, what are you going to do with it anyways?
Yeah. That's great.
There's a couple phrases like freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, and like there's things in we're just the borrower, a slave to the lender, and all kind of stuff. Just kind of tells you you're just a slave to your possessions. You're just a slave to that sort of stuff. So if you just kind of forget all that and just live like day to day, whatnot. I don't know. I'm going to rambling.
No, it's okay to ramble. No, I think when it comes to like living day to day, like that's sort of my philosophy is money's you need it, right? You need it to do certain things, obviously, but it's just not it's not my drive, right? It's not my, I know it's some people's, it's it, man. That's the drive, right? Yeah. And for me, it's not. Do I need to have enough money to be comfortable? Yeah, right? I do. And I work towards that. But you know, the experiences I have with my kids, the experiences I have outside of work, to me, it's work needs to be fulfilling. Yes, but it's also a means to a better life and enjoying things. I try very hard. I know this is hard for some people. I try very hard. When that work day is over, I'm out of it. I've switched to dad mode or just to whatever personal Drew mode where I'm just doing my own thing, right? I don't answer emails. I'm getting better at that, not letting it control.
Just kind of be present.
The job that I have now, like I see people one-on-one in their homes, and they all have my phone number, and like they stop calling me after a certain time, and I literally had to tell them it is your privilege to have my phone number, and if you abuse it, I'm going to take it from you. Yeah. And I had to. Like it took me a long time to stop answering their phone calls, but when it was pointed out to me by a few different people that I'm just stop working because you're gonna drive yourself crazy listening to the same problem from the same person for so long. So I think
that's a tough balance to walk with you, because like the personal safety of the people you're with, like, do I answer, don't I answer? But then it's like the boy who cried wolf. Weeks of them calling and needing like,
you stole my baloney, like dude, that's serious.
I'm sure it is.
And if you don't make those boundaries and those limits, like, you know, for me in my marriage, it affected my marriage because I didn't know how to shut things down from work. I didn't know how to not bring it home. I was never taught that. And I was never taught to leave that stress behind. I never learned how to leave that behind. So if someone texted me, I need to answer right away. And I didn't have the skill of responding versus reacting. Mm-hmm. I used to be very reactive, where I would get super upset and it would completely just wreck my entire day. If someone was upset with me, it was the end of the world. Mm-hmm. The end of the world. Like, my whole day I would cry, I'd be so upset. And now I had to learn the skill of being like, it's okay for someone to be upset with me for a little bit. It's okay. Mm-hmm. I can't be everything for everybody. Like, I can't be everything for everyone else all the time. I have to show up for myself. There are hours of the day that just need to be for me. They just need to be for my relationship.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Days that there are certain times that they're just about my business. There are certain times they're about my day job. Like, you have to kind of compartmentalize that. If not, you lose yourself altogether. And when you lose yourself altogether is when you burn out.
Yeah. Do you guys schedule free time? Like you just said, but being in sales forever, I don't shut it off almost ever. Yeah. You know, I could work like 8 to 4, or I could work like 24 hours a day, even though I'm not actually actively working. I'm pretty consistently looking at emails. I'm looking at, responding. Like if I go to the store, I don't bring up, my marketing job, but marketing to me, marketing that I do is the easiest job in the world, because if you go to a picnic, you go to the bar, you go to a friend's house, the first thing someone asks you is, what do you do for a living? Mm-hmm. Boom, marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, then you get into it, which is, I guess, talking about it is different than doing the work.
Yes.
I try to be more of a brand ambassador when I'm off work and a marketer when I am at work, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
I think early on when I set aside time for myself, I felt guilty. a little bit, right? Because you have all these things to do. You got kids, you got all this stuff you got to get done.
Yeah.
And I've decided that I'm not going to have people in my life who make me feel guilty about that, right? If they're friends who think they're friends, I try to make sure that I know I want this time this night, and I'm gonna use it. I'm not gonna feel bad about it. I'm gonna just enjoy it. Sometimes that gets disrupted, right? Life gets in the way. But I used to feel like guilty for taking an hour at night to watch TV shows for myself. Like, but you know what? No, I gotta have that time because I don't work physically with my hands. I'm not a real man in that respect. I can't. You don't want me touching anything that's mechanical. You don't want me doing that. I'm not that kind of person. But I work really hard with my brain all day. I mean, I'm thinking about new ideas and creating, and I get burned out. If I don't have that time set aside for myself, then I'm never going to not be burned out.
Now,
I'll never reset.
Yeah, we talk about like people struggling with grief and just any version of mental health issues. I mean, even if it's 15 minutes, just say, I'm not going to think about this shit for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's really unhealthy to have the friends in your life too that are like, you don't reach out to me, then I'm letting you go. But we all have our own shit that we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some of my best friends, Allison, I see Allison maybe once a year, but we connect like through social media as much as she has 2 kids, she has a life, she has a husband, they're running a business, like all of these things, she's super busy. She's one of the most important people in my life and I love her to pieces. But we both know that we're busy. My best friend Jen is the same way. We connect once or twice a year. And we love each other. That doesn't change by how often we communicate, but we also know that we're human beings. And I would never be like, well, I reach out to you if you don't reach out, so I'm cutting you off. Because that's not what our friendship's about.
It's funny when you surround yourself with people that just get it. My dad told me that when I was young. He's like, there's your best friends you're going to talk to once or twice a year. You know, and it's when you just like kind of vibe with someone and get it. Like, we haven't talked in 20 years. Like, we saw each other like once, like 2 years ago. We dropped off something too, and then like now, it's just like, what's up? And there was nothing. We just talked about nothing.
It kept going though. Like, you didn't miss a beat almost.
No, I mean,
but those are the kind of people though. You also know that if something detrimental happened in my life, they would be the ones to show up for me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? When Leroy passed and grandparents passed, like those are the first people that reach out and say like, we got you, we're here for you. And that's the stuff that you have to remember too, is we have our own lives. Like people that make you feel guilty for not seeing them all the time, it's so unfair because everyone has so much that they're just layering as we're doing this adulting thing, which nobody told us was going to be so hard. Nobody told us that. We're all like wishing our childhood away, like can't wait to be an adult. And then you get here and you're like, why did we want to get here? Why do we want to do this?
Yeah, we grew up the same area. I'm 39. You're 39.
Yeah.
You're
37.
35.
What are we even doing?
So I feel like I'm finally at the part where I'm understanding it. Like I'm understanding who I am authentically. Like not what everybody else wants Trista to be or they want Trista to be. I'm understanding who Trista is and is supposed to be. And living like the most authentically that I've ever lived in my life and for me, not for anyone else.
You guys point out to me all the time about how much you've seen me grow and the different things that I've done or whatever, but the same with you. Like from when I came back and entered
life.
When I re-entered life, like there was some things that weren't quite right with you, and everything is. And you were just saying about how Justin, this is as like easygoing as he's been too.
As I sit here sweating and panicking.
Yeah.
I think
you can talk. I mean, you can talk about that if that's. I'm completely.
Yeah. So we were all in a wild ride there for a while. I think I was going through an identity crisis for a hot minute, is not knowing if I belonged here, if this is where I was supposed to be, if this is what I was supposed to do. Going through a divorce shakes up your entire life. You're like, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do, if this is where I'm supposed to be, and a part of me almost sold everything and ran, because I'm a runner. We talked about that a lot. I run from situations and I was afraid to sit down and face it and face myself and figure out who I was. And I did a lot of work. I work with Jerry Ann locally. She does like coaching and I'm a therapist. Yeah, and Jerry Ann, we've talked about her in the last one, is like has been one of my best resources. And she is like, you gotta start living for who you want to be and what do you want out of life. And then when I started looking at things and seeing, okay, like I built a community inside of my gym that is supportive and they all help each other. And it's like a live thing. Like it's its own thing. Like I could step away. If I needed to step away, they would take care of each other.
Absolutely.
And keep this thing going. So if something ever happened to me, like I know that I built something that's going to keep flourishing and going. So, and then how many people in Mill Pass here have been like, we needed you. Like, we need you. Like, this is our second home. This is where we come for safety, security, love. A lot of us don't have that support outside of the gym, and this is amazing for us. So then I was like, what I do matters. It's not just the gym. Like, what I do matters.
Absolutely.
And it took that connecting to me into my heart space of being like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I think that finally brought me around to realizing, like, I need to build my roots here. I need to root down, and I need to say, instead of bitching about this area and how it's never progressing, is doing the things to make it progress.
Yeah.
Instead of complaining about the area and running from it, of saying, like, what are we going to do to change it? And that's when we really started coming together. We're going to, like, mental health walks. I'm working on some stuff in the background. I don't really feel comfortable
We take
talking about it
classes
yet,
and do trainings and stuff like that
Yes.
that we don't really talk about.
Yeah.
and I'm like working in the backgrounds of doing some stuff to help doing progressive action in our local community, not just my CrossFit community, in the local community, of getting people active and getting people working on their mental health and being a support system for people that don't have it.
Yeah.
Because you see what it does for adults. What could we do for kids that are in need? So that was a big thing for me, is finding my identity. And I don't think we realize that we lose that as we're going through these stages, and we're living for like what our parents tell us to do. Like, my wedding wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what, you know, my ex-husband and I wanted. Our honeymoon wasn't. Like, all of those things we did for other people. And we had to sit down and have a real conversation with each other and be like, we live for everybody else. We people please our whole relationship, and we lost who we were. So fortunately, I was able to have that conversation with an ex. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
So we grew from that experience of learning what we did wrong. And I think that helped me a lot.
I never got clean because everybody else wanted me to. I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried.
It doesn't matter what other people
No,
want.
it has no. And then, you know what? Once I did get clean, I didn't know how to be an adult. I didn't know anything about it. You know, we've talked about that for a long time, and I still have no idea. Same as a lot of people.
Makes you feel better. We don't either.
Yeah. So, but like, still, you know, when I got clean, I was like, I don't really think that I was doing things because I wanted to. I just wanted to make everybody around me happy and prove to them that I could do it. And in doing that, it made me, and finally, you know, believe in myself. But it took a long time to do that. You know, in the past, 16 months now.
Well, I think you also built a support system around you of people that you admired and you looked up to, and you didn't want to let them down.
Yeah.
And I think that's something important for people to have. People that they look up to, and you don't want to let people down. Like, that's our whole thing of our core need of being loved, and is like not wanting to let people down that love us. So I think that was a good thing for you to have that support system behind you, people that you looked up to.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we talk about Justin a little bit? I'd like to talk about Justin.
All right, talk about. I don't know.
So, you know, when we first started doing this, Justin was very much the kind of person who would come up with 800 ideas all the way up here. He would peak and try to do everything and save the world and fix everything, and then crash for like 4 days and sleep.
Yeah, it's
and
really
then
funny
like we would make it jokes about it. We're like, let's give him a list. Let's give him a list of stuff to do while he's up here, like in Munich. And
But then he'd always say, well, write that down. You guys write that down.
yes,
in a text message, but
yes, and it was like a little bit, you know, it's kind of funny because it's Justin and makes everything funny. Like, everything Justin does is entertaining. But in the same light, like in the past, couple months, we've really seen him not go through those big highs and big lows. And he's been like very regulated. He's getting shit done. Like, you're now, like, what did you say, VP of Rotary? Like, you're working on a board with like mental health for schools. Like, that's huge. Yeah. And you finally like got yourself regulated, and you're staying consistent with the gym.
Yeah,
that's something you didn't do. You're carving out stuff for you. You're also helping other people, but you're staying balanced and regulated. Yeah. You're not having those big peaks of highs and lows. And I think that's something that we should clap for.
You know, but I'm also a year into my new career, and what I didn't really give myself credit for was I spent 14 years selling selling cars. And the car business is very interesting because if you guys ever bought a car, when you walk into a place, whether you know it or not you guys personally, but you're automatically given permission to be an asshole because the used car salesman or the car salesman is the asshole. So if there's one place in the world where you're allowed to be a dickhead, it's to that guy.
Yeah.
So I constantly had to break down that border of, you go to shake someone's hand and they're like, whoa, buddy, you're not shaking my hand.
Yeah,
We're not becoming friends. That's just, so I'm finally a year into this business and things are starting to click. Like I knew nothing about mitigation. Like a lot of people don't even know what the word mitigation means. We go in and I have to talk to customers like their house has water in it for like 2 feet. So I go in and like one of the things I do is just calm everybody down, keep things moving fluid. And it's like I kind of get it. I kind of know what I'm talking about. And where I didn't give myself credit to like you didn't know this. Like you want to be good at everything at all times, and like. I just didn't. So I'm starting to become more comfortable just in I told you like last week I almost had confidence. It was real close. Almost had confidence. It was real close. Yeah. But how long, I don't know even how to ask this, like how long into your new career? Because how long have you been at your current job?
Let's see, 6 months.
How do you, like you're still kind of struggling with that, right?
A little bit, but I'm starting to be more confident, but there's always new projects launched and there's new things. Like I'm more comfortable, say, calling somebody up and asking for an interview, calling a CEO of a company. I don't want to do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm not used to doing that. And now I'm more comfortable because I've gone through it and it's become a little bit, but there's always new things that pop up and I always think to myself, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. Inevitably, I typically accomplish it. I get it done, right? I figure it out. But at first, anything new to me is always like, I'm really hesitant to get into it because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of failure is what it is. Yeah.
So I think a big thing of being afraid of failure is afraid to try. There's so many people that just won't even try because it's like, or self-sabotage. Like, well, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to fail. So I'm not even going to attempt it. And then I don't fail. And then I just sit in this, like, I don't want to say mediocrity, but you just sit in this like little hub.
Comfortability place.
Yeah.
You've
got to kind of get outside.
Some people sit their entire lives. Entire lives.
I had to literally try over 20 times to actually get a job, a real job, the first real job that I had, and now my background's not, like my criminal background's not haunting me as much anymore, fortunately. Like I'm getting farther away from the last time I was in trouble. So, and funny enough, the charge that I was convicted of that's on my criminal background, the one that comes up that keeps me from being hired happened in 2010. So it's not even anything,
It's 13 years ago.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, this was a big leap for me. I play it safe. I've
to
always played it safe. No, not this.
I was like, what?
This is just me bullshitting at a bar, right? The American Legion. And Glenn Campbell. Shout out to him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's a few years from there. But to take this new job, I was comfortable. It was safe. I was okay there. It was just kind of routine. And I've always kind of been that way. Like, play it safe. I don't need to push boundaries. I don't need to apply for anything new. And then it so happened that this company that I'd spoken for at conferences before, they had actually paid me the pass to speak at conferences. So they were familiar with me, so that helped. So there was, and I applied for it thinking there's no way they're going to call me. But then I made I made the cut and I was like, okay, this is getting real. Shit. Now I got to make the decision though, do I leave comfort for something that I might not be successful at and then have no job, right away.
Yeah.
And how long, but I did. I'm glad I did it. Even if it were to fizzle out in 3 months, I'm glad I did it because I've grown. I felt I've now been able to
take yourself out of that comfort zone and actually.
And talking about that right there, that's something that is super discouraged in this area where we're at. Like, are people like taking a leap of faith and doing stuff? They're like, well, you already have a good job.
Yeah.
Why would you risk it? Why would you quit? That's something that I've known my whole, that I think that scarcity mindset that we all stay in of like staying small and not taking those leaps is something we kind of grew up in this area. You have a good job, you stay at it until you die. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a goal for me, is to be done with my day job, move into just doing the gym full time. And for the longest time, I think the barrier holding me back was me. I mean, thankfully, also COVID happened, which was a huge setback in literally everything in life, but especially for gyms, fitness centers, stuff like that. So maybe divine timing there stopped me from doing it, but now like that's my ultimate goal. But when I look at it, I always go back to that mindset of it's secure here, it's stable here, it's this here.
Cost of living's down, but you have to kind of think though. Our parents' generation, security was not something like their parents. They weren't guaranteed security because of the different. I mean, 2 generations was World War II, Great Depression, that sort of stuff. They were literally just trying to survive. So like the boomer generation in our area, it was literally get a good job, work there for 30 years, keep everybody safe, and as long as no one dies, we're doing all right. Well, now we have opportunities everywhere. We can do anything we want, and like our attention to detail is getting worse. Not attention to detail, just our attention to whatever. Our, what's that called? ADHD, that sort of stuff. But it's getting worse. Like, so now we have so many opportunities right now. You kind of just, I don't know. I've always lived by the, when you're green, you're growing, when you're ripe, you're rotten.
Okay.
You know? Oh, yeah. All kinds of phrases.
You guys were talking about growing up where we grew up.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, love, hate, for a while there, for me, it was hate. Like, at least on my side of things, I watched my family, my grandfather, when he's in his 50s, like hunched over because he worked such a physically demanding position, right?
Yeah.
And he would, even just I stayed with my grandparents a lot of my childhood in high school. And, part of that, he didn't make me pay rent, but he made me get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to help him haul wood and do work.
That's what I did.
On the farm,
right? Firewood, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And he's like, I always get these things from like, I can't believe you're tired. How could you be tired? Like, you're waking me up at 5 a.m. I didn't go to bed at 7:30, Gramps. I went to bed at 4 a.m. and you woke me up at 5 a.m. to go, cut trees and haul wood. Like that's physically demanding work.
Yeah, I got an hour's sleep. What are you doing?
And I knew I wanted to get out. I knew, he even encouraged it. Like I knew I did not want to do that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's not to say that I'm looking down at people who do that. That's some people want to do that. Some people want to do that. Some people don't have as much of a choice as I might have. But I knew I didn't want to, and I knew he didn't want to either, right? He told me that. So go to college, go to this. So I go to college. I go to the college of my choice, and I come back. I come back to visit, and all of a sudden, it's like it's a complete 180. It's like, oh, college boy's here. He knows everything.
Oh, college boy.
If I would voice an opinion, right?
You don't do anything.
Yeah.
You've been in college.
Yeah, a college boy. He's getting all that liberal bullshit over there. Like I'm just telling you that I think there's an easier way to do this. Can we talk about it?
Why don't we just try that way?
Let's just
I didn't go to college, but still give you the same
college boy
opinion.
knows everything. So I got that resentment. I felt like they resented me for doing the thing they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
But once they realized that doing the thing they wanted me to do would also change my opinions on things, they weren't as much about that.
Yes.
And
Grow
so that was
the
tough.
same.
Yeah. So that was tough for me. And so I kind of, once after my first 2 years of college, I came back in the summers and came back on occasional weekends. After that, I got an apartment up there on my college campus. And for 2 years, I pretty much didn't come back.
Where was it?
And,
Where'd you go? So what?
Allegheny College in Meadville.
Oh,
So it was only like a 2.5, 3 hour drive. It wasn't far. Once you're up there for winter, you're stuck there.
Oh, yeah.
It's 3 feet of snow all the time in Meadville. But so, and then after college, I had a stint in St. Louis for 3 years, and then I came back we were having kids, and I needed some of that free child care from the grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
It's precious these days.
Yes,
It's so
very much
expensive.
is. Yes, it very much is.
And so I came back, but I was talking to Justin offline about this, or off camera about this. Anytime I would drive to like Spruce, I don't know if anybody knows Spruce, between Cherry Tree and Pine Flats, those metropolises, and
yeah.
But my grandparents lived there. That was our hub, where our family met, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anytime I would leave my area and enter like Salzburg, as soon as I entered Indiana County,
About halfway.
yeah, about halfway, I would just like this anxiety, like these Justin Mingle sweats.
Oh my God.
Would overtake me. The podcast sweats would overtake. I don't know why. I just felt like I wasn't wanted. I wasn't welcome there.
Yeah.
Right? The place where I grew up, sort of, I felt like the black sheep of that area now. And I felt like people thought and felt like I was better than them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
Yeah,
I was just coming home to see family. I'd love to go sit at the American Legion and have deep fried wing
I want to
days.
do it today.
I love to do that. I want to do that stuff. I want to do it. But yet where it separates is that today at least, and maybe this wasn't 10, 15 years ago, but today, like, you can't just have fun conversations anymore. You can't just talk about the kids and your job and what you're doing. Like, everything just politics gets involved in all of it.
Is it our age though? Like, is it the timing, or is it our age? Because we're at this age. That's what these age people talk about.
Do we become more aware? I've thought of that before.
I'm a really bad person to talk about politics with. I'd be like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
was it always like that, or we were too young to even know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what kind of scares me about this. Is we talk about this stuff openly, and we talk about, like, we don't want to seem like we're on a soapbox.
Yeah.
And we have, like, this imposter syndrome. Like, do we really know? But, like, there's so many people that give us feedback that are like, I'm really glad you guys are doing that. Because, I don't think
means much more to me than if somebody's like, well, you guys think you're better than everyone. F you.
I think we're part of the majority.
Experience like that where, and it wasn't said to me, but it was said about me to someone else, and they're like, she just talks about how she just thinks her life is so perfect. I was like, have you been following the train wreck for the past 2 years?
That's what we talk about, is our life isn't perfect, and that's fine. That's fine. Whenever we graduated, though, so we all graduated right around 2000. We were prepped for a world that no longer existed. Like, we talked about this a little bit before. We were prepped, like, we were born in the early 80s. We were prepped to do that 30-year careers, whatnot. All of a sudden, in September of 2001, 6 months before we were supposed to graduate, the world fucking changed.
Yeah,
it was completely changed, and we weren't necessarily prepped for a world that existed, but no one was.
No.
We just happened to be at that pivotal transitional moment where we're going from children to adults. Like, June of 2001, we had to ask to go take a piss. July of 2001, I was like, what the fuck are you doing with your life, loser?
Yeah.
Well, like, and even we talking about going to college and stuff. Like, I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship through the school or whatever. But, like, when I went to college, I didn't know how to college. I didn't know how to discover classes.
I didn't know how to apply.
I didn't know how to do any of that shit. Nobody told me any of that. And even if we did have guidance, like in school and whatever, like it just is.
But we were prepped the best. Everybody knew how to prep us, though. And I feel like we always prep people for the world we're living in instead of the trends and things that are where it's going.
Well, and no one ever told us that it was okay to not want to go to college.
Yeah.
It was so pushed down our throat, you need to go to college. So I remember applying for college and being like, I don't know what I want to do. And no one had, like, the serious conversations of, I wanted to be a psychologist. That's what I want to go to school for. I am legit, I cannot go home after hearing horror stories and live a normal life. I had no feedback. No one telling me the feedback of, you don't understand the seriousness of what you're going to hear as a psychologist. Are you going to be able to leave that? In, like, 1 year of taking classes, I was like, I can't. I know that I want to help people, but I know that I can't leave this
It's
behind.
just not. It's not your style. There's different ways.
No.
Spending so much time with you guys in the last year and a half, I realize how much harder it is for a woman to get started than it is for a guy. Just because, like, if I walk into a place as a salesperson, I'm average height, I'm average build, I'm white, I'm blonde hair, blue eyes. I get no kickback. Like, I'm used to it from the car business, but now I walk back in, people are almost comforted that I walk in. You walk in a room with somebody that's a, like, different ethnicity or something like that, people's buttholes tighten up.
They do. You're right.
Yeah,
It's interesting just being, like, a female gym owner, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
And like, there were times that I felt like men wouldn't take me seriously until I went over and I picked up their barbells. Like, off the floor, and I was like, I know what I'm doing.
When we were in that coat drive, this big husky man come walking in there, and he was looking around, and you're like, can I help you with something? He's like, yeah, I want to talk to the owner. And you're like, well, that's me.
Yeah. Standing beside female salespeople, people would come in all the time and stand right here and talk to me. And it's like, it's all like, one, it's not my turn, it's not whatever, but why don't you talk to her at all? Mm-hmm. You know, just because you don't know cars, you woman.
Well, that's
it.
In the day job, I have an operator's license for a water plant, and I'm typically the only female in the room. Sometimes maybe the instructor. And one guy asked me if I was the secretary, and that was all. Like, I was like, I also have my water license, yes. And he's like, you do? And I was like, yeah, for a couple years now. I'm like, I've been doing this job for 12 years. He's like, 12 years? I was like, I know I look young and great, sir. Yeah. But yes. But it's difficult. And then, I just had a situation in the past couple of months where I was overlooked. I felt overlooked as a female business owner. Felt very uncomfortable stepping up and saying something. But then when I did, I felt like a series of events happened.
Yeah, stand up for yourself.
That it kind of just like turned on for me, where it's like, you shouldn't be, if you feel slighted as a human being, like it's okay to stand up for yourself and say something.
Yes.
And people might not respond to you, they might not acknowledge what you said, but at least you feel better knowing that you took the step to do the right thing. And had that happened to someone else, I would have stood up for them. So it's also a good thing to stand up for yourself. And I think that a lot of times we let shit slide way too often as humans when people do things against us, where I think it's important to stand up for yourself. And that's an uncomfortable one for me, because I'm just like, here, let me be the doormat for everybody, because I just would feel really, boundaries are something that I really struggle with, and it's been a couple years with just working on boundaries. It's made me a better person, I think.
Good.
I think when you're in a position to enable change and help, I think you should, right? And so not everybody listening to this might agree with that, but from my perspective, and this is small potatoes, this isn't worldly or anything, but you know, we're putting on an event at the end of the year. It's a huge event for people in the industry, and it's easy for me. It's home improvement. So what do you think of home improvement? White men.
Tim Allen.
Oh,
Right.
you do.
Oh yeah.
Really.
But you think,
What was he?
right? You do. And so, and there, I could for articles, for podcasts, I could always interview white men.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
easily. I'd never run out of them.
We're
We have a
white men are
surplus
the
of white
most
men.
valuable resource in the world.
You're gonna get so many bad reviews for this now. Because what are they? They don't like white men?
Yeah, we just happen to be them.
No, I hate myself.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Have you not been trying?
But I'm in a position where I can seek and find women who are kicking ass in the industry too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Women of color who are kicking ass in the industry too.
Yeah.
Right? And so I will do research. I will seek them out. I'm booking some women for my event. I've written profiles on, a black woman who really struggled when she started a business. She was called every name under the sun. Nobody would do business with her. But when she fully embraced who she was and marketed it, she said, I don't care. I don't need your business. I want to do business with people who want to do business with me.
Correct.
And she took off.
Yep.
She's like one of the
is
top
awesome.
groupers in the country. And so I'm looking for those stories. But when you're in a position where you can do that, I think you should try. And so I could easily just write articles and have guests on that are all white men, which is great. There's a lot of good ones and they do a lot of great things. But I also want to find what else is out there, because there's more. There's more to it.
My brother's a truck driver, and he tells me all the time about how many women are on the roads, and he's just, it's amazing. He's like, they can drive same as me.
Yeah.
Some are even, he's like, some are even better than me,
Well, in the back of your head, too, growing up in this area, where do you hear him say, oh, pulling the female card again, pulling this card again, whenever, like, people come out and they say, like, I feel discriminated against. Like, there are legitimate cases of discrimination, and, like, that's... So when for me, when I would go to speak out about something, that's one thing in the back of my head. I would hear people, like, saying, like, oh, she's pulling the female card. Yeah, I absolutely am, because
When you're
not letting me come out and be...
anything else.
have credit, yes.
When you speak confidently and you're assertive, what do people think?
You're a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best things a man from the gym told me, his wife is an incredible feminist, and he said, what I've learned from my wife is being assertive is not the same as being bitchy.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, you can be assertive and be kind and respectful. And I've never ever treated anybody but respectful, even when I wrote emails saying, hey, I don't feel that you're looking at me in the same light as you do a male counterpart. And I shouldn't have to, it's 2023. I shouldn't have to write this.
Yeah. And when
absolutely.
people have a good experience, they'll tell 2 or 3 people. When people have a bad experience, they'll tell
everybody.
100. So whenever you are the cliche whatever, and it's just like, well, see, I told you so. See, I told you so. One of the things that affected me the most when we started doing this was I've been really getting into the comment section, not on Facebook, that's a whole different world, but like on your Reddits and Instagram and stuff, like whenever something comes up and there was a comment, it's like, what would women do? What's one thing women would do if there were no men in the world? And I'm like, oh great, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
They said go outside at night.
Yeah, that's eye-opening, right?
And you're a
That's-
father of girls.
Yeah.
Like, what is your perspective change on the world once you had them?
I think it does. I think it does in kids in general, but I feel guilty about how I parent them a little differently than my son. I do
Okay.
feel guilty about that
Yeah.
because this is the worst thing.
Yes. Yeah.
No, because I know what I was like when I was a teenager.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Looking
let's
back,
get
I'm like,
real.
One of those right
Let's get real. We're, you know,
Yeah.
we're some assholes there, and man, I'll say this, and my kids and anybody's kids or even adults now, like, I'm so happy we didn't have this level of social media when I grew up. I wouldn't be here. No way.
I was just
No
going to say,
way.
you kids have cell phones, but you said your youngest was 9, but mine's had a cell phone since 10, and she told me, she says, Mom, my FaceTime this week was 7 hours a day.
A day.
A day.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Crap.
said, that's like a shift at work.
Well,
Do you
and they're in
understand?
school, so they can't be.
Yeah, so 7 hours a day. She literally never puts it down.
My son just got one at 13, so he was late, and because we were worried about
Yes,
it, right?
yes.
Of course.
And you know, we co-parented and figured that out together and agreed to it. And he, you know, he knows we can take the phone off him at any time we want to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he knows deleting history is a
Against
guilty
the
plea.
rules.
It's a guilty plea. Okay, right? So, we set the rules up front, and he knows it. Now, I sort of operate under, I'm going to trust you till I don't, and then, you know, so far so good.
Yeah.
Got a Christmas couple months, but you know that scares me.
Yeah.
You know,
13-year-old boy, a lot of.
yeah,
Yeah.
But you even if you're not the guilty party per se, you receive an image you shouldn't receive. You are
Gonna hide it. It's
You're-
your first reaction.
right, but you're in
just
trouble.
Like, oh shit!
If that
I
strikes
just told my
back
dad
to you,
this girl sent me a picture. You know,
Yeah.
he's not thinking. Oh, that's
so we've
not
explained
bad.
to him, this is the stuff you can't do. This is the stuff you need to report to us as parents right away, because the sooner we can address it and go to somebody we need to go to, the less likely you are to be in trouble for it.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. They,
Catfishing right now is in an insane level. Like, it's insane. Kids on the internet, it's terrifying. It really is. That's something and it's a good thing that you guys have a good co-parenting setup where you can talk and discuss of, hey, they're allowed to have this app, that app. Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
And it's scary of what kids have access to. I mean, I like TikTok. Sometimes it steals some hours of my life where I'm scrolling TikTok. I like TikTok. But some of the stuff I see on there, I'm like, number one, oversharing.
Oh, absolutely.
Number two, I can't imagine a child seeing this on TikTok and what their brain is going to do with that information. Or are they going to mimic it? Or are they going to take this trend and do something with it? So that's, and then the other thing is the bullying. Like, you know, we had an escape from bullying. We didn't have to sign on to AOL and ICQ when we got home. You know, we had that choice.
Thank you, you did that. I was gonna ask. I feel like I ask people this and they don't know. That's like my favorite childhood memory.
oh yeah.
Like I got a message. Somebody wants to talk to
God,
me.
yeah.
Like,
It's a messenger to you.
Or the other sound.
ICQ was the best.
ICQ, you could put that
was the
little,
best.
you could put that little away message so people knew how cool you were.
Yeah,
you could do
I
that.
had stuff to do. Like, I'm really cool right now. I got stuff to do. My dial-up internet is working. It's fine. Everything's great.
Yeah, I played the dial-up internet sound to Ariel. I said, "Do you know what this is?" She goes, "It sounds like your phone's broken."
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like a soundtrack for my childhood.
Oh yeah. Like
Dial-up internet.
you got mail. Everybody had
You
their free
got
discs.
that.
I have so many AOL free discs. I have internet for a lifetime if I wanted to.
And burnt CDs.
Oh,
Downloading
bird CDs.
music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the mixtapes. Were the that's how you
Yeah,
got.
you
That's
could
how
just-
you.
made one for your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
those were the
That's
best.
how they knew. That was
That's how you knew it
that
was
our love
serious.
life.
Like they really.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have a mixtape, are you even in a relationship?
Yeah, I had
it
been
doesn't
McCain on
matter.
there.
Listen, I still make playlists,
Instead
alright?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of text messages and phone conversations, we sent songs. Well, this is how I feel, and this you can just figure it out from the words in the song.
So
Oh, yeah.
we were talking about FaceTime. I think that's the other thing that like makes me nervous about kids, like the difference in growing up, right? Like we grew up in this area. My best friend talked about Jen. Like I was at Jen's house. Like we were at each other's house like every weekend or over summer. We lived at each other's houses. Like now I feel like kids like don't actually get together in person. It's
'cause
video
they-
games or it's FaceTime, and then they never are actually in the same room together for like overnights.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah, I have a funny story about that. Pro to that, like, so the pro to that is like when I grew up playing sports, you know, we hated the rival, right?
Oh, yeah.
We did, right? Now, my son is, because of AAU and stuff, he's friends with all these kids. And so the pro is they've got these good bonds, right?
Well,
so
yeah.
I get to go watch kids play against my son who are on his team this spring. You know, like
yeah,
it's a
that's
great
cool,
bond for
though.
them. But to your point, this is during COVID. My son had a friend come over to play Xbox.
Yeah.
And within an hour, he's like, I want to go home, because they couldn't play it together the way they're used to. So he went home
And
so they could play. Right? Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It's crazy, but that's what they wanted.
No, I can remember just with almost every single one of my friends when you were at their house playing N64 or whatever it was, you just kind of stayed up all night exchanging the controller back and forth.
Yeah.
If it was a one-person game or if it was a two-player game like GoldenEye or something like that, you would.
And your parents would get your favorite snacks and like you just like chilled.
We didn't have snack money. But
We've had Madden tournaments that are lasting all night, right?
Yeah.
It's super, and it's like, it's almost sad because I feel like they're being robbed of a part of their childhood of where you get to like
personal interaction.
Yeah, and socialize and like get to like develop like bonds. Like Jen and I are like, we're sisters. Like we are sisters. Allison and I, we're sisters. Like we are bonded for life.
Oh, yeah.
And just from growing up and growing through experiences together, but now I see kids like they don't have best friends anymore.
No,
Ariana says she has like 6 best friends. I'm like, which one? You know, and she's my best friend. I'm like, well, which one?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a lot of friends. I grew up in a bedroom that was a little bit smaller than this, and I remember the summertime we had twin beds, bunk beds, with a third in a room. So there'd be like 2 beds right here and 1 over there. And I remember this one summer, my oldest brother Joe slept on the top bunk. Jason and I shared this bed. I had 2 cousins on the floor and 1 other one in that bed right there.
Yep.
And it was just how summer was.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
we just hung out, and we had all this acreage. Like how I hated it when I was a kid because I didn't live in a town, so I didn't get to. But what do you need besides 5 more people?
Yeah.
50 acres where you can just run around and cause ruckus in the woods.
And then you got the in or out. You choose. Make your choice. And then one chooses in, the other one chooses out, and you're just staring at each other through the door and be like, maybe
I don't want to see you until after 5.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you until
And we
after
didn't. Like,
Come out when the street lights come on.
Yeah.
My mom used to stand on the porch. Well, we didn't have a porch, but she'd stand outside and literally yell through Gypsy, Anna, Melissa.
and then,
Yeah.
but then we also wonder, was the childhood the best? Because we're all in therapy right now.
Oh, God.
So,
I think too, like I do feel good like that because I would go in summer. I would stay 4 or 5 straight days at a friend's house. Weekends a Friday night after school on a weekend. I'd stay till Sunday.
I was allowed to do
with
that.
we
I was allowed to do that.
But we can't. I feel like I have today's culture has robbed my son of that because he wants to go stay at a friend's house, but I know they're going to stay up till 3 a.m. My dude, you got an 8 a.m. basketball game.
Yeah.
And so that youth sports culture of like 8 a.m. games and all weekend, like
it's too much.
it's gone. It's robbed kids of that.
Yes.
And so there is a part of me that feels guilty about that.
Yeah.
But I also know that he wants to do that. So there are sacrifices everybody has to take. Every kid, every adult has to take different sacrifices. But I do think like he would just love to have a weekend where he could go stay with his friends for 2 or 3 straight days.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't exist right
I actually know parents that had to take off from like competitive gymnastics for like I was with a couple weekends ago, and the mom was like, you know, she's playing with like dolls again. She's being a kid again.
yeah.
And that is amazing because she didn't have that. We were on the go, and she ended up getting burnt out and stopped for a season. And she's like, she's actually being a kid again, and it's nice to see that. She's like, I actually had to pause and listen to her playing, and that was it's sad when we think that. Are we almost doing too much for the kids, or we're pushing them too far to do stuff where they're not kind of getting that break?
We operated under the you had fun yesterday. You're not having fun today, buddy. So we go somewhere at like 5 in the evening, and then we had to be home like noon the next day, and then it was like, well, you kind of had to earn the privilege to go do something. So if you didn't do whatever, it'd be like, okay, you can go out, but when you get back, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And that added a little bit of, I don't know. I think that was parenting. It was just parenting. I think
it's different in every different styles. Like we had a chore list every day when we got home from school. Like we were, lock key kids. So like our parents, like both parents worked. One was out of town, the other one worked, and we had to start dinner. Like at 10, 11, 12, we were starting dinner. When my mom got home, we were, cooking ground beef or whatever it was. Like we were cooking food and doing that, which a lot of kids don't even have to fathom that now. But we were in that mode. So we had our weekday chores, and then when the weekends came, we got to go to a cousin's house. We got to do whatever we wanted to do for the weekend. But that I just feel like kids now are robbed of that because they are very, very busy, or they just want to sit at home and play their own video games while FaceTiming.
Drew, how many hours a week do you spend on youth sports?
Oh, hours a week. If it's ramped up AAU season, which just to explain what AAU is, there's regular season, like my son plays for his school, but then there's AAU, which is basically every weekend, and that's a combined, he's on a team with kids from different school districts.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, he's in like an elite circuit where it's like, an all-star essentially every weekend.
Sure.
But
You can brag.
Yeah, well, sometimes I report every game. Sometimes I just delete the tapes. Sometimes I highlight them. You've seen them. But
Yeah.
he has a practice or two every week. So that's 2-3 hours. 3 hours once you combine drive time, drive back, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the weekends, which
It's usually a tournament, right?
So you'd be playing at 8 a.m. and playing again at 12. So you're just staying there all day.
Yeah.
So oftentimes or if it's Sunday, that's Championship Sunday, we call it. You can play a pool play game, then you get reseeded, then you play in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and if you're good enough, you can play 4 games in one day. He has played 6 games in one day.
I believe it.
That's wild.
And so
I
we
was
were,
best friends with a girl whose sister played AAU, so I know.
I would say on average per week, then if you count the games, the practices,
time.
I mean, you're talking almost 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah, it's a part-time
all
job.
day.
Even if
it's
you're
a whole
sitting
day.
there, it's still a whole day.
It's a whole day.
It's a whole
Yeah,
day.
and I'm sure with you too. That's sometimes like take your phone, take your laptop. I have a little bit of work sometimes.
You got to get stuff done. I'll do it at night, or I'll do it. I'll do it when they're in bed. Or when I really feel bad about though is I got to haul the girls with them.
That's what I was just gonna ask. How do you feel about the other kids?
Awful,
Is it
awful,
sucks for them?
awful. But what I do is, I'm not gonna lie, I bribe them. I go, hey, concession stand. You want a shitty soft pretzel that you love for some reason that's really not good for you, but they're like, you want a Kit Kat? You want some Sour Patch Kids? Yeah, and bring some toys. Sometimes they play with them, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, she's 9. Like she's at least getting into to watch some of the game now because she also plays basketball. Not as high level, but she plays. She's interested. 5-year-old doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sure she ever will. She's got a perfect attitude.
That's awesome.
I don't want her to ever grow up, but she's going to.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad. But I gotta support. This guy, this kid, right? And I've got to support what he wants to do. So I just try to be. When I'm not at basketball with him and the girls aren't there, we really try hard to have movie nights and girls' nights, make popcorn. We just do things with them.
I think it's very important to meet, and not just kids, meet people on their level.
Yeah.
To meet people on their level.
Yeah.
Just to go back real quick, you were saying about the food and whatnot. I can remember there was 5 of us, both my parents and whatnot. We had to go to a football game like down in like Pitcairn, so which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Mahaffey. And we didn't have a ton of money, so my mom packed lunches. She literally put bread and lunch meat and like apples and shit like that in a cooler, and it was like kind of like the looks you got from people whenever you opened up the back of the van. And then made sandwiches for your kid. It was like what, and it was just like that. It sacrifices. It wasn't even a sacrifice. It was just like so much. How do you feed 7 people out? Every single weekend, 8-9 times a week, or 8-9 times weeks in a row. I don't know. Life is a little bit different now than whatever
it is
than what it was.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So I think that was pretty good. I don't really know what direction to go here to end this because we just kind of talked about nothing. But I thought today was great. I mean, Drew's intro. We'll do this again sometime. Next time we'll have like more of a
topic generation.
Topic generation. But I thought this was good. We had something to talk about. We were going to talk about redemption with was it
AAU coach? Yeah.
Maybe we'll cover something like that later. It's like second chances. Had a drug problem, came back. And it sounds like the guy's dominating now too. Right?
He's doing well. Doing well, and he's coaching my son, and there's a good story behind it. But we'll talk about it. I'd be happy to come back and talk about that. I'd love to. This was great. This is kind of therapeutic to me in a sense.
It's good. It's good. I genuinely appreciate it. And we covered this area again. I don't want anyone to feel like we're talking shit on it. It's just we're just talking about
just how we live.
That's our shared experience.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's every small town. It's getting people to be progressive and have different ideas and different outlooks. It doesn't mean that we're talking anything bad. We're working hard to make
our community better
and changes. Positive changes.
And we're a mental health podcast, but lifestyle, and I talk about it all the time, environment, that is the basis for your mental health. If you don't have a good environment, it's hard to have good mental health. So
and mindset with the people, with yourself and the people around you.
You actually said nice things today about me.
I always do. You just don't hear them. You don't accept them.
Nah, I don't believe that.
Oh, jeez.
All right,
Getting there.
that's it. We'll be back. I'll try to get this out by Tuesday, which you're not going to hear because it'll be out by the time.
Oh yeah.
So, all right.
Well, thank you for having me. I
All right,
appreciate it.
absolutely, Drew.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Man.
Good.
Oh, sorry, I made that.
It's so uncomfortable. It's so awkward. I'm sorry, guys. It's
All right,
so
all right, all right. Love you guys.
Love you, bye.
Go outside.
You are the most awkward.